You probably don't remember this phone, but that is exactly what makes this story so interesting. Because in 2019, Samsung built one of its boldest smartphones ever. A phone with no notch, no punch hole, no compromise, just a full screen. And for a moment, it felt like the future. Then it disappeared. Welcome back. This is Pryce, where we help you save money, buy smarter tech, and sometimes understand why the most ambitious phones do not survive. Because today, we are talking about the Galaxy A80 and why Samsung quietly killed one of its most daring ideas. Back in 2019, the Galaxy A80 looked different immediately. No cutout, no interruption, no distraction, just a clean display that felt ahead of its time. And Samsung did not stop there. Instead of using a normal selfie camera, they tried something wild. They built a rotating pop-up camera. Yes, the rear cameras would rise, rotate, and become the front cameras too. And that changed the entire pitch of the phone, because suddenly your selfies were no longer stuck with weaker hardware. Same cameras, same quality, same experience. That sounded brilliant, and honestly, it was. But here's where the dream started to get expensive. Very expensive. Because to make that system work, Samsung had to place a mechanical motor inside the phone, and that changed everything. This was no longer just a smartphone, it was a moving machine. That meant more parts, more engineering, more complexity, and of course, more ways for things to go wrong. And this is where the fantasy met reality. Mechanical parts inside smartphones are risky. Water becomes a bigger problem. Dust becomes more dangerous. Even a small drop can turn into an expensive repair. And when something breaks on a normal phone, that is already annoying. But when something breaks on a rotating pop-up camera, the problem becomes much bigger, because now you are dealing with motors, moving parts, a mechanism that has to rise, turn, and lock back into place. That is not cheap, and it is definitely not simple. Now think about it from Samsung's side. Was the idea impressive? Absolutely. Was it practical for the real world? Not really, because most people do not wake up asking for a rotating selfie system. They ask for reliability, durability, a phone that just works. And that is where the Galaxy A80 started to lose. Because while the phone looked futuristic, it also introduced risks that most buyers were never going to love. And companies notice that fast, especially when those risks are expensive. So the market started moving somewhere else. Punch hole displays got better, bezels got smaller, selfie cameras improved, and suddenly Samsung did not need a rotating motorized camera to make a phone feel modern anymore. You could still give people a big display, you could still make the phone look clean, you could still move the design forward, just without the fragile parts, without the repair headache, without the cost. And that is when the whole idea quietly stopped making sense. Samsung never really pushed the concept again. Other brands slowly abandoned it too, because pop-up cameras were exciting, but they were not sustainable. And that is what makes the Galaxy A80 so fascinating now. It was not a bad phone, it was a bold experiment, one that showed the industry how far companies were willing to go to chase the perfect full-screen design, but it also showed the limits of that dream. Sometimes innovation dies not because it is boring, but because it is too expensive, too fragile, too complicated. And that is exactly what happened here. The Galaxy A80 felt like the future, but the future went in a safer direction. And maybe that is the most interesting part of this story. People say they want innovation, but what they usually want is safe innovation. Something new, something exciting, something futuristic, but still durable, still easy to repair, still affordable enough to scale. And the Galaxy A80 was not that kind of innovation. It was riskier than the market wanted. That is why phones like this become legends later. Not because everyone bought them, because years later everyone remembers how brave they were. And that is why the Galaxy A80 still matters. Not as a failure, but as one of Samsung's boldest experiments. If you enjoy videos about forgotten tech, ambitious phones, and the ideas that shape the smartphones we use today, subscribe, because here we do not just follow hype, we understand it. See you in the next one. Peace, health, and well-being in your home.